Is that how you say it?
Nikhade.
Nikhade. Awesome. So Vaishali is the go-to expert for entrepreneurs. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. We're good. Recording. My partner's got me. Awesome. So Vaishali is the go-to expert for entrepreneurs and business owners who would like to see through the future, because in today's times, most are confused, panicked, and unsure. So as a business psychic, she shows them how the outcome of different decisions will unfold in the future. So bottom line, you can get a peek into the future by being in the present time. That sounds awesome. Getting nowhere after consulting tens of psychics, she studied and learned the subtleties of intuition. And she once prevented a client from losing an investment of $150,000 in a bad venture, and another client get a $35,000 raise for bidding contract. So Vaishali is the host of the podcast, The Uncanny Link, where psychics meets metaphysics, or science meets woo. Okay. And
Physics meets metaphysics.
Okay, physics meets metaphysics and science meets woo. Gotcha. So she's also been a podcast guest on several other podcasts. So welcome, Vaishali. I will let you take it from here. I'm excited to hear you talk.
I am excited to be here. And is there a way I can share my screen? I think I can.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I am not looking at the chat. Okay. So, hey, everybody. My name is Vaishali, and thank you for that introduction, Kayla. And today's talk is going to be Cosmos to Clarity and how to turn ordinary moments to get extraordinary breakthroughs. And I am going to get started here. So the current situation is that the world needs more breakthroughs now more than ever, because everything has changed since March, and things are still changing. And a lot of the times, a lot of the people are still wondering and still speculating as to, is this done yet? What's going to happen next? How is my business going to survive? How am I going to survive? So all sorts of different thoughts and ideas are going on in people's mind as to how this pandemic is going to shape things for now and for the future. And just as a way to future-proof things, most people are trying to look for new solutions or trying to solve problems which they haven't solved before, or try to get new skills and reinvent themselves. So essentially, everyone is kind of looking for solutions. And I'm trying to see, okay, just 1 second, let me, okay. So my question is, did you guys have to look for a new solution after COVID hit, and then did you get it? So if you want to put it in the chat box, if you had to look for a new solution after COVID hit, and if you got it, that would be so cool. So let me just see. So someone is saying yes. Anybody else want to put in yes, yes, yes? So everybody had to pivot. And yes, a lot of people had to make changes, and a lot of people had to make changes overnight. And everything shifted in space of a day or a night or a week. And some people lost their jobs. Some people had to do different things. Mostly everyone had to shift, at least in a certain way. So creativity is what we need in order to be able to solve problems. And most of the times we are looking for something which is like outside us. It's almost as though we think that, you know, there is this big force outside us where we can get these answers, and we are constantly searching for answers. So while there's a little bit of truth to it, it is also that we can find our answers using ordinary moments. And what the universe does is it disguises things. So the universe disguises golden doors or golden opportunities behind these ordinary moments. And if we learn to look at these ordinary moments carefully, then they can lead to extraordinary breakthroughs. And I'm sure you've had such moments in your life. And I'm going to have a few quiz questions along the way so that you can see how these moments actually play out in real life. And I also have a quiz at the end where you can actually take the quiz and figure out if you can actually find out if you're making the right decision or not. So we are going to have some fun with the exercises and play, and we are going to see how you do. So think of it as the universe presenting a situation to yourself, and then what kind of a decision you would love to make. So you can just imagine, so I know this is not like your particular situation, but it is a real life situation. So you can just sort of close your eyes. You can imagine that this situation is happening to you, and then what are you most likely to do? So this is the quiz. So just, if you don't mind, just close your eyes for a second, and you don't need to look at the screen. You can just hear my voice and you'll be able to tell what's going on. So just imagine that maybe it's a few hundred years ago, and you are soaking in your bathtub. And it's just the end of a day, you are soaking in the bathtub and you are relaxing. And suddenly what happens is there is water which spills out of the bathtub. So just visualize that for a second, that you are soaking in your bathtub and everything's going well, you're relaxed, you're chilling, and then suddenly the water spills. And then you have to pick one of these three options, and just pick the one which you feel most inclined to, or which kind of rhymes with you in the first moment. So the first option is you realize that the faucet is on. That's the first option. It's time to close the faucet. That's option number one. The second option is why you keep wondering, why isn't there an automatic faucet shut off? And then the third option is that the spill is giving me ideas to solve my problem. So the first one is it's time to shut off the faucet. The second one is, why isn't there like an automatic button where the faucet automatically shuts off when the bathtub is full? And then the third one is, I got an idea to solve my problem. So go ahead and put in the chat box as to which option it is that you're likely to choose, whether it's option number one, option number two, and option number three. So let me just give you guys a moment and see what I get. So Laura is option A, Tracy is one. Let's see, Carrie is B, Tina is B. I'm just going to wait a moment or two. If anyone has any question, just ask. Okay, so we have lots of ones and twos, or A's and B's. Great. So I'm going to just record your answer in your notebook for a second. And then as we move into the presentation, I'm going to show you what it exactly means. So this is the first one. So I have one more quiz question. Okay, so this is the second quiz question. I'm sorry, I'm having a little problem. Okay, so these are the objectives. So the first one is, in this presentation, you're going to learn how to take advantage of your creative genius. And each one of us has a creative genius built inside of us. And by the end of this presentation, you'll learn how to take advantage of it. And you will also learn, by taking advantage of this creative genius, how you can become a highly skilled problem solver. And by becoming a skilled problem solver, you'll have the ability to get a breakthrough whenever you feel stuck. Like whenever you feel that, oh, I'm stuck in this situation for such a long time, I need to get out of it, or how do I solve this problem? Then using your creative genius, you will be able to get the breakthrough. So think of it like creating an aha moment on demand. And you can do this by leveraging the Cosmos to Clarity framework. and then I'm going to get into the framework. So it's time for the second quiz question. So please make sure that you note whatever was the answer to the first quiz question. So even though you don't want to write in the chat box for whatever reason, I would prefer you do that. But if you don't want to share your answer, then just write it in your notebook, because we are going to compare the answers towards the end. So here's the second quiz question. So go ahead once again and just close your eyes for a second. And just imagine that it's a few hundred years ago again, and you are sitting in an orchard. So it's a nice day, you're sitting outside and you're just sitting in your chair, and in front of you, you see an apple falling from a tree. So just visualize that situation for a second. And I'm going to give you 3 options, and just pick the one which you closest are going to do in reality, or whichever is the one your gut wants to go with first. So the option number A, or option number 1, is the apple must be ripe. It's time to go and eat it. So that's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see the apple falling from the tree. The second option is, wonder when more apples will fall. It's time to bake a pie. So that's the second option. Because you saw only one apple falling, you wonder when more apples will fall. And then the third one is, why is the apple falling straight to the ground? So the first one is, the apple is ripe, time to eat it. The second one is, when will more apples fall? And the third one is, why is the apple falling straight to the ground? So go ahead and put your answers in the chat box. So we have A, we have C, we have A, we have B. Okay, we have a lot of answers all over the place. A, B. Okay, I won't be able to keep track of it, but I'm hoping you write them down in your notebook. Okay, so now we'll get to the meat of why I asked these questions. Okay, so by the end of this presentation, you will get an understanding of the Cosmos to Clarity framework, and you'll increase your awareness of how the universe sends signals, and essentially learn how you can get an extraordinary breakthrough. So whatever problem it is that you're working on right now, so no matter where we are always looking for the next step. And in order to get to the next step, we need the breakthrough. So once we get an awareness of how to do it, it's easier to be able to solve the problem. So if this sounds good, then you are in the right place. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Vaishali Nikhade, and I used to be a left brain engineer. So I actually used to design computer chips. And I transitioned to becoming a right brain psychic. So I actually am a business psychic, and I look into the future of a business. It's done a little bit more scientifically, just like how you would solve an engineering problem. And I also host a podcast. It's called The Uncanny Link, where physics meets metaphysics, or science meets woo. And if you want to learn how these things play out in the life of an entrepreneur, you can listen to the episodes of the podcast and see how the universe is sending you the signals. So these are a few minor details. I'm just going to quickly go over them. So I've read over 7,000 clients. I've helped a client get a $35,000 raise on a contract. And I am a fitness freak. I love to hike in nature, and I have done several half marathons. I've done several Spartans, and I have also done a full marathon. Okay. So now let's get to it. So like we discussed earlier, COVID has caused a lot of challenges for a lot of people. And most people feel like, even today, they feel like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. And many business owners may feel stuck. So what we are going to do is we are going to look at an ordinary moment that can create an extraordinary breakthrough. So the question is, have you had any breakthroughs in your life, either during COVID or before COVID hit. So just pick one breakthrough that you've had in your life and just write it down. If you want, you can share in the chat, but it's important because you'll be able to get the framework. If you write the breakthrough, then you'll be able to relate it to what I'm going to teach in the framework. So think of a big breakthrough that you had in your life, like you got this idea and then you made this product. That could be a breakthrough. Or whatever else you think was a breakthrough. And like I said, it doesn't have to be after COVID hit. It can be before or after, so long as it is a breakthrough. So I'm seeing some things in the chat. Let me just check for a second. So to move to Costa Rica, going virtual. Okay, that's great. All right, so okay, so the Cosmos to Clarity framework, what it says is that the universe never opens a golden door with the word gold on it. So most of the times the universe will disguise things in terms of an ordinary opportunity. So you're not going to say, the universe is not going to come and say to you, hey, listen, if you just open this door, you know, there's a pot of gold lying. It's going to be a little bit more subtle than that. And essentially, that's why I had those quiz questions to see if you can catch the subtlety of the universe. So the old belief is that it takes something big to create a shift. And even though it is true that it does take something big to create a shift, most of the changes come actually from ordinary moments. So if you were to look in your life, and even if you've had moments where you had to make big shifts, they actually came from ordinary moments. The second belief is that you need to invest a lot of time and money. So even though there is truth that you do need to invest time, you do need to invest money, you still need to be able to increase your awareness. Because if you invest a lot of time and if you invest a lot of money and your awareness doesn't increase, then you're not going to be able to make as much progress. So the next one is that my problem is unsolvable, and every problem is unsolvable until it is actually solved. And then the next one is that the solution is too far away. So most of the times when we feel that we're not moving fast enough or we haven't reached our goal, we feel that the solution is too far. But usually what happens is if we just take the next step, then the universe is going to help us connect the dots, because we have a linear path in our mind and the universe does not. It usually will take us through different route, something which we may not have imagined. And most of the times we're looking for how, but if we just take the next step with a higher awareness, then we can see what happens next. So there are no coincidences. Most of the times it's the universe giving us a sign. And when I was working on doing the podcast, I would actually go up hiking on the mountain, and this would actually give me the answers. So now I want to get to the framework, which is really where I wanted to come. So this is the Cosmos to Clarity framework, and this is a proprietary framework which I have developed. And essentially what it says is that the universe is showing us signs or giving us signals, and it is up to us to be able to interpret these signals. So it consists of 3 different things. The first one is you. So you are the one who's solving your problem. So that's you. The second one is the cosmos or the universe. So the universe is the one who is giving us the signs or the signals. And the third one is our intuition. So our intuition is the one which actually takes the signal from the universe and it's helping us interpret as to whether or not this is a valid thought or a valid signal, or should I move forward, or I can just discard this idea. So if you look at the intersection of all these 3 things, this is where you have what is known as your creative genius. And using this, you can solve the problems that you have, you can get your next step and you can figure out what the answer is going to be. So I just went over this. Okay. So now the cosmos. So if we come to the cosmos, so if you have a pen and paper, you can just draw this. Otherwise, I'll just focus on this slide and explain. If we come to the cosmos actually gives us signals in 3 different ways. One of the ways it gives us signals is when we are in nature. The second way it gives us signals is when we are near water. And then the third way is a mundane task. So these are like the 3 different ways where we need to look for signals from the cosmos. And then I'm going to, when I do the examples, I'll start looking at each one of these so it will be more clear for you. And your intuition is the receiver. So this is your ability to be able to interpret the cosmic signal. So we went over you, which is you yourself, the cosmos, that the cosmos signals in 3 different ways, and then your intuition, which is you're interpreting the signal which has been given to you by the cosmos or by the universe. Okay, so now we go to first example, and this example is that of Newton. So in this particular case, U is Newton, and we are going to look at how nature works. Remember, one of the ways the cosmos signals is through nature. So we are going to look at nature and how the intuition worked as far as Newton was concerned. So Newton was actually sitting in an orchard, and when he was sitting in an orchard, he saw an apple fall from the tree. And when he saw an apple fall from the tree, what he wondered is, why is the apple falling straight to the ground? So you remember the quiz question I gave you about the apple falling from the tree? That's actually a real life example, except that it is that of Newton. And when he saw the apple falling from the tree, he said, so why is it falling straight to the ground? And that gave him the idea of what is known as Newton's laws of gravitation. And all the students of physics, when they study these things, they study physics, they study these laws of gravitation. So that was his breakthrough moment. So if you took the quiz in the beginning of the talk and you picked 3, then it means that your intuition or you have a greater level of awareness of what the universe is trying to say or convey or signal to you. So the next example is that of Archimedes. And Archimedes was a Greek philosopher and a mathematician. And he was assigned by the king of Greece to figure out whether or not the crown the king had been given was made of pure gold or not. And he was wondering about the problem. The only condition was that he could not destroy the crown. So he was wondering, how can I do this without destroying the crown? And he was laying in the bathtub. And this was the second quiz question. He was laying in the bathtub, and then suddenly the water spilled from the bathtub. And when the water spilled from the bathtub, that's when he had this aha moment of how he could figure out whether or not the crown was made of gold. And he just got out from the bathtub and ran naked on the streets of Greece shouting, Eureka, Eureka. So that was his breakthrough moment where he actually figured out like how, whether or not the crown was made of gold. And his work is known as Archimedes' principle. And then I'm kind of, let me just look at the time for a second. Okay. So the third example is that of Arthur Fry. And he was actually singing in a choir. And when he was singing in a choir, he saw all these loose sheets of paper. And by looking at them, you know, he got this idea of he could have them just stick. and he's one of the co-founders of the Post-it notes. So that is how you see the intuition playing out in terms of interpretation and how the cosmos works in terms of giving you the answer, whether you're in nature or whether you're near water or whether you are involved in a mundane task. So we are going to do an exercise. So pick maybe like 3 to 5 breakthrough moments in your life. And if you like, you can put it in the chat box. And then let me just look at it so that we can move forward. Okay, divorce. Anybody else wants to type in the breakthrough moments? Anxiety tackling. End of a relationship. Realizing divorce. Okay, so let me just wait for a few more. Having someone say something unkind for my body. Okay. All right, so now that you have the breakthrough moment, you can just figure out, remember we had the 3 circles and one of the circles was cosmos. So just figure out, like, you know, where were you when you got the breakthrough moment? So hang on one second, let me just see, there's some ideas here. So some idea is, so if you want to pick in your business, you can pick like a product or a feature that makes you unique, or you made a huge change in your business, like starting a business, applying for funding, investing in a project, or you were stuck in a problem and looking for answer. Or you can pick one of the personal breakthrough moments which you had. And then just figure out, like, where were you when you were looking, when you got that breakthrough moment or when you had that answer, because we saw 3 ways where cosmos kind of signals to us, which is nature, water, and a mundane task. So just figure out, like, where were you when you got the idea about the change? So on the bus, in the bathroom. Okay, that's interesting. Bathroom is actually water. I've never had that one happen. Okay, on the bus can be a mundane task. Anybody else? I like the bathroom part. I've never had that from anyone. In bed, okay, that's a mundane task. Yeah, water is actually one of the triggers. Shower, yes. Working out. Beach. Okay, cool. Let me, okay, so figure out the solution. It looks like most of you did. that's when you had the intuition tell you that you need to do this, like you need to move forward or whatever was your breakthrough moment. So now, what if you had not taken that action? Where would you be today? Would you be like in a better place, in a worse place? Just think about that for a second. All right, so essentially what this means is that you're just like an ordinary moment away from a breakthrough, and all you have to do is kind of make the right decision, and with every decision, you are creating your future. So if you like those couple of questions, then I have more questions on the quiz. It's called the uncannylink.com/creativity quiz. And you can take this quiz and figure out what it is, like where you stand in terms of your creativity. So I just had 2 questions in the beginning. So this one has more questions, which has real life scenarios. And you can kind of take it so that you will know where you stand in terms of your creativity. Let me just look at the chat for a second. So driving is a mundane task. Cooking is also a mundane task. And then I also have another free resource. If you'd like to book a call with me, then you can use this link or you can take this quiz. And I think that's pretty much the presentation. Oops, I have no idea what happened. That's pretty much the presentation. So you are welcome to ask any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thank you, Vaishali.
You
That
are
was amazing. It's cool to see how each of us kind of think a little bit differently and what that kind of means as in regards to our intuition.
Yeah.
So Carrie Ann says, how did you train to become a psychic?
So I actually trained by doing readings on myself, and then I started testing those readings. And then once those readings started playing out, then I started diving more and more deeper into more readings, and then I started reading clients. So I'm a little bit self-taught, and I also sought help from some teachers.
That's awesome. Sometimes self-taught is the best way. That's how I started with photography. I totally did self-taught, and yeah, it's good. Carrie asked too, did you read certain books?
Yeah, books were a little bit later down the road.
Would you recommend any books for people to read if they wanted to build their intuition?
Oh, yeah, Laura Day has some books here.
Sorry, putting you on the spot. Laura Day. Okay, awesome. That's awesome. I'm just checking in to see. I also, like, a question that I kind of had was when you're faced with a business decision and you're not sure kind of what the next step is, or let's say you have a couple of different decisions, what's the best way to know that you're moving forward in the right way for you?
So I think that's when you ask the universe for a solution and then see what shows up. And those are the 3 places, like the nature, the water, and the mundane task. That's where the solution will show up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you will just kind of, like, something will just hit you and you'll kind of have it, you'll have that like aha moment.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, does anyone else have any questions for Vaishali? Sherry commented, she said, it's really being more open in these situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just being open to all the possibilities and maybe considering that they're like, I don't know about you, Vaishali, but sometimes I think, or I'll coach my clients to say, what if there was no like right or wrong answer, right? Like you could just, like you said, follow your intuition and see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like we are used to thinking linearly most of the times, but the universe is like always putting us through detours. So it's just being open to whatever is the answer that's been given to us and just taking that next step to be able to move forward.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. Okay. Sherry also says now, I realized after your talk that I do get a lot of answers in the bathroom. Is that water? I thought it was because I'm more still when I'm doing things in the bathroom. That's
No,
interesting.
bathroom is water. I've never had that. Usually people have said like when they're taking a shower, when they're in the bathtub, when they are cooking, because cooking also uses water, or doing the dishes. That's the first time I saw bathroom.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think when I get some aha moments, like where else I've been in. A lot of them, I think some of them will be driving too. And I'm like, oh, I have like this great idea for business. And then I can't actually write it down because I'm driving. So I've had to make myself, what do they call voice recordings? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
this is such a good idea, you know? And a lot of it happens in conversation for me. Like I'll be having a conversation with a friend, or like is that pretty common too? I guess because you're bouncing ideas off of people, but
Yeah, that's more like a mundane task kind of a thing. Like when you're in a conversation, um, it can happen in a conversation, but usually it's like you're not really looking for the answer. You're more laid back, and it kind of just comes to you rather than trying to force the answer.
I'm so guilty for that. I'll be like ruminating on it. I'm like, I need to know right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that almost makes it worse, hey?
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you force the answer because the universe has a way of playing jokes with us.
What do you mean by that?
It's hard. We are just making it hard for yourself because it kind of comes in its own time, and if we force it, it takes longer.
Oh, so you just kind of have to relax, be
Yeah, and let it
allowance.
come.
Ah, okay. I have to practice this because, yeah, sometimes I force things and then I'm like, okay, this, and usually it's interesting that you say that because usually it ends up being not a good decision, or like it feels like forceful, like, when you're pushing a boulder up a hill, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel aligned, or it doesn't feel good. Um, but yeah, that's exactly what I need to practice. So thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Vishali? Is there any way that they can get a hold of you? You have a free gift for them, right?
Yeah, so if they go to my website, theuncannylink.com, there's a contact button.
Okay, I'm gonna drop that link. Let me just find it here. Of course, when you're like, I have all these links, where are they? I know I saved it. 1 second here, guys. And you can just save it. You save it in the chat as well. Okay. When we have the 16 speakers here, I'm just trying to find your section here. There it is. The creativity quiz, right? Oh, there you go. Looks like Sherry put it too. She found it faster than me. All right, well, thank you so much, Vaishali. I'm going to put you back into the attendees. Perfect. And I'm going to bring on our next speaker, which is Rodolfo. Let me just make sure that I have everything ready for Rodolfo.